Hey guys, this is step one for the elemental portrait project that we are doing. I have two examples for the fire that we are doing all together as a class. This is one that I created last year, but you can make it look different based on different resources that you pick up. So this one, you can see it's still fire elemental, but it is using different types of textures for the background, different flames. I decided to instead put sparks in the hands instead of flames like I did on this one. So it's customizable as well. First, you're going to want to make sure that you have gone into Teams and downloaded all of these resources. So this is my Photoshop document. You don't need to download that one, but this is a resource. This is a resource. You can download these three right here as well. These are brushes that you'll need later for step two. I already have them all. I will download them again just to make it easy. Download. Download. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up a new document. So I'm going to File, New. Your dimension should be 1000 width, 1100 height for pixels, 300 resolution, and you want to make sure that your background, if it's not black, that you click on that and you go all the way to black, click OK, and then create. So it should all start by looking like this. Now I'm going to make my brush tool active. The nice thing about this project is I have all these different color codings that you could use, and all you have to do is copy and paste them. So for this one, I'm going to select this right here, go Command C to copy it, go back into my Photoshop, click on my foreground color. Right here is where you're going to paste it. So I'm going to hit Command V and click OK. I want to make sure that I'm using a soft round brush. My size will be 1200 pixels per inch. And on my background black layer, I'm going to click once to create kind of this really dark hazy color. Move that. Now I'm going to create a new layer. There's one of two ways that you can do this. You can either come down here and hit the plus button, and that's going to create a new layer, or you can do Command Shift N. It's good to get in the habit of using it this way too, because a lot of the layers we're going to be clipping to the previous layer, and this lets you do that right here. This one I don't need to right now, so I'm just going to click that. I'm going to go back into my directions. This time I'm going to pick up the new color code. Command C to copy. I'm also going to look and see it says paint inside the dark red area and change the blending mode to color dodge at 100%. So I'm going to come in here and paste in my new color. And on my new layer, I'm going to make sure that I am in color dodge and that my opacity is at 100%. I'm going to go ahead and find the middle of my project, and I'm going to click once. If you didn't change the color mode or the blending mode first, it's going to come out this bright yellow color. As soon as you change the blending mode, you'll get this red color. I'm going to create another new layer using the same paint color as before. I'm going to click again in the center. You can see this one's yellow because I didn't change my blending mode yet. This one's going to go into overlay, and I want it to only be at 70%. All right, now I'm going to download and open up the nebula. So I'm going to go File, Open, go to the downloads, and find that nebula, which is this one right here, the texture one. Click Open. I'm going to use my Move tool to bring it into my project and make sure that it lines up. So I'll zoom out to make sure that I get it the same size. I like to put mine in a corner and then try to get it as much centered as possible. Then I'll hold Shift to grab this side and make it smush. Okay, hit Enter to accept my transformation. I'm going to add a layer mask. Oh, first I'm going to label this nebula. Then I'm going to add a layer mask to it, and I'm going to create what's called a bokeh effect, which we've done a couple of times with our projects. I have my layer mask that is white, so I know that my foreground color has to be black. I'm going to grab my brush tool, and you can play around with the opacity here. I might increase my opacity just a little bit, make my brush a little bit smaller, and I'm going to move this out of the way. And then I'm going to kind of fade out the outside edges a little bit so that that red circle we created behind it comes through. I'm also going to go in the center and reduce the intensity of that, but maybe not quite so much. I might take my opacity down a little bit more and then click, because I still want some of that texture that's going to be there. I'm going to duplicate this layer and do the same thing again. But for some reason, when you duplicate it, you're going to notice that it puts that color in the beginning or in the foreground again. So I'll hit D, and then on my layer mask, I'm going to again kind of fade out the edges a little bit and a little bit more in the center. All right, I'm going to also go add a blur to this so that it's not quite so sharp. So on this top layer, I'm going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and set this to 2 pixels. So it takes away a little bit of the sharpness. I'm going to open up my model now so I can get rid of things like that texture since I don't have much room here. I'm also going to close these ones out. So I'm just left with that. So I'm going to go File, Open, and I'm going to bring in my model. Open her up in her own tab, separate from our project. I'm going to use my Object Selection tool, click on her. This does a great job of selecting parts of the hair. And I'm going to use my Move tool to bring it into the project. She's huge. Got to zoom out, shrink her up a little bit. This part on how much of her you want to see is entirely up to you. You can shrink her so you see everything, including her feet, or I can make her a little bit bigger and take out some of her feet that are showing. Hit Enter, zoom back in. And the 10 just says move it to where you want it to be. It also says that we're going to get some of these brightness, like her hair has very high contrast with the white. So does her face and her hand over here. So I'm going to reduce some of that overexposed whiteness. Now is the time to start using Command-Shift-N to create a new layer, because all of these things we're going to do to the model are going to be clipped to this original model layer. So I'll click Use Previous Layer to create a clipping mask. Click OK. I'm going to grab my new color code. Command-C. Go to my foreground. Command-V. Click OK. And then I'm going to change the blending mode to multiply at 100% opacity. So I'll come over here, go to multiply, use my brush tool, reduce the size, and I'm going to now reduce some of that brightness in her hair, along the side of her face, and then on this hand. You will notice that because it is clipped to our model, I can paint out here all I want and nothing's going to show up because it's only going to affect your model. I'm going to continue reducing that brightness by doing another clipped layer, Command-Shift-N. Clip it. I'm also going to change this to multiply, but I'm going to reduce this opacity to about 50%. Go over the same sections again to reduce it a little bit more. Over her face, over her hand, maybe a bit of the tips of her hair. And that looks good to me. Now I'm going to add some of the red color that we have in our background to make it look like it's reflecting on her. So for this, I don't have to create a new layer down here. Instead, I'm going to go up to Layer, New Adjustment Layer, and Hue and Saturation. Now it brings up that same kind of window where I can clip it just to my model. Once it's clipped, I can come over here. I'm going to add 2 for my hue, 26 for my saturation, and I'm going to leave lightness alone. And that just created a little bit of a redness to her, gave us a tinge. I'm going to merge all of these clipped layers now. Stop moving. So I'm going to make sure my top layer is selected. I'm going to hold Shift and go all the way down to my model layer, and I'm going to do Command-E to merge it. All the next layers, and it's highlighted for a reason, all of these have to be clipped to this hue and saturation layer. So I'm going to duplicate first this first layer, Command-J, and I'm going to clip it to the original model layer. I can hold Option on my keyboard, go in between my 2 layers, and click, and that clips my layer. I'm going to go to Image Adjustments and Color Balance. In here, we've got 3 different settings right here. We've got shadows, midtones, and highlights. I'm going to start with the midtones and put in 76 for the first window, 0 for the second one, and -46 for my third window. So that affected our cyan, magenta, and yellow. Before I click OK, I'm also going to go into my highlights and my shadows and adjust those as well. So my shadows, my first for my cyan is going to be 31, 0 left at magenta, and -27 for my yellows. I'm going to go to my highlights, the last one, 34 for my cyan, 0 stays the middle, and then -14 for my yellows. Now I click OK. You can really see we accentuated that redness to make it look like she's reflecting with the kind of flames in the background. I'm going to duplicate this layer, make sure that it is clipped by holding Option. And I'm going to go to Image Adjustments and adjust the curves. That's the highlights and shadows. So Image, Adjustments, Curves. This window over here pops up. You can either adjust the input and output levels down here, the little buckets. You can also adjust using the actual curve. So I can go high and really overexpose those highlights, low to really overexpose those shadows. You can kind of find a happy medium. I think mine looks good pretty much around there. And I'm going to click OK. Creating another new layer, Command-Shift-N, clip it, click OK. I'm going to use my new color code to paint on the hair and hands. So I'm going to color, clip it or copy it, Command-C, come to my foreground, Command-V. I know my blending mode has to be to color at 100%. So I'm going to go all the way down to color. And now using this color, I'm going to go over sections of my hair and the hand. You can do better towards the ends and tips of the hair by just adjusting the size of the brush and coming in with it. If you go too much on here, you will notice some of it coming up. My opacity is pretty down low, so couldn't see that too much. But if I do color on her, and you can see it showing up over here too. All right. On another new clipped layer, could use the same brush to add more vivid red to the hair and the body contour. That means like the curves of the body. So Command-Shift-N for a new layer, clip it, click OK. This time I want the blending mode to be an overlay at 100%. So change my blending mode, overlay, and I'm going to use this to do the hair. So make my brush size a little bit bigger. I might reduce the opacity a little bit on that. It's coming through a little too orange for me. That's okay. That looks nice now. I'm really only focusing on the bright spots of her hair. Some of the very bright overexposed parts are not going to show up as much, but that looks pretty good to me. And then I'm going to also add it to her body contour. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit and then paint alongside the edges of her body. We're going to do that one more time with another color. This is kind of layering it up a little bit. Might also put some on the shoulder right there from where it was hit with the highlights. All right, that looks good to me. On another new clip layer, we're going to use a new color code and a new blending mode to really accentuate those contours. So Command-Shift-N, clip the layer, grab my color code, come in here, I'm going to change it to hard light. Paste in my new color code. And then I'm going to go over those contours again. This time I might make my brush size a little bit bigger. And that's come through a little too intense for me, so I'm going to adjust my opacity. That looks good to me. Come down, make sure I don't forget some of these parts down here that she is got some highlights on. Okay, a little bit there, a little bit on the underside of her arms, maybe a little bit over here on her shoulder as well. That looks good to me. Now I'm going to make a new clipped layer. This is the last part for step 1. And I'm going to paint some of that color we just grabbed to do the contours. I'm going to paint it on the hair ends and change the blending mode to overlay. So Command-Shift-N, clip the layer, change the blending mode to overlay. And now I'm going to reduce my brush size and kind of paint in some of this color onto the tips of her hair. All right, that looks good to me. So that is the end of step 1. I will begin step 2 in just another minute.